Distraction definitely is one of the biggest addiction and biggest threat today. If you want to be successful as a student or as a working professional, one skill you need to have is that of focused work. If you can focus on your work and do it with concentration, then probably you're way ahead of anyone else who has more intelligence, more IQ. And in this video, I will help you with some practical tips that will help you avoid distraction and focus on your studies and professional work. So let us first try to understand why does distraction happen. This concept was also mentioned in the book Deep Work, that we do not embrace boredom anymore. Our mind has started to learn to stay in an overstimulated place, and now we need that constant dopamine boost to keep that high always. And the point is that the more you distract yourself, the more you want to get distracted as well, because then that becomes a benchmark for your stimulus in your brain, and you do not want to come down below that. So the first step for this is to meditate. That's why meditation is recommended as well for focus, because it helps bring down that stimulus and it kind of stops that craving for dopamine boost every now and then. If you do not want to meditate, then you can also practice doing nothing for 30 minutes in a day. That will also help you bring down the stimulus. You can simply walk out, just look at nature for some time, and that will really help you. But if you keep switching from focus to distraction or from distraction to distractions, then you might think in the short term that you are not embracing boredom, you're being more productive, but for the long run that is going to damage your brain. That will reduce your ability to focus long term. And now let's address the elephant in the room, the biggest source of distraction these days. Social media and your smartphone. And the next two tips is going to help you address those. The next two tips are inspired from the book Atomic Habits, and the first one of them is to make yourself accountable for a task. Whenever you feel accountable and guilty about doing certain things, it's a great motivation to stop that thing. So if you use a lot of social media, the first thing that I'll ask you to do is go to your account, click on account activity, and see the time spent on that particular application, mainly Instagram and YouTube. Do comment down below what's the time that you see there. And if that is within 1 hour or even 2 hours, then it's absolutely great, because a lot of other people are spending much more time on this app. 4 hours, 5 hours has become the new normal. And you have to do this activity every night before going to bed. Every time that you see that you have exceeded the daily limit, you will feel guilty about it. And if you keep journaling it, if you keep noticing it every day, there will be a time when you will be very conscious about the time that you spend on social media. And that will definitely help. If you can restrict it within 1 hour, it's absolutely great. The next step is to make your distractions as difficult to access as possible. And here, suppose you're addicted with social media, you can keep your phone in a different room. That urge to go to a different room and pick up your phone for social media will be absolutely gone. Or you can use some screen blockers or applications as well. Suppose you want to start a particular application, say Instagram, and if that application stops you from opening it for 10 seconds, it's a great frustration. Those 10 seconds wait time will create so much of frustration and will be a game changer, especially when the tasks that you want to do or when the apps that you want to open are not important. The fourth tip is to keep a dedicated space for your studies or your professional work. Whenever you are in that kind of an environment where it's dedicated for a certain thing, your brain adjusts to it. If you can keep your phone again in a different room and dedicate a space where you only do one particular task, your mind will be focused on that particular task whenever you enter that space. The fifth tip is to create artificial deadlines and targets for tasks that do not have any. We especially procrastinate on tasks that do not have any significant deadline. For example, if we have to study like 10 chapters before an exam the next day, we might as well do it. But suppose we have to study 5 chapters for the next 3 months, we might not do it for the first 2 months or the first 2.5 months itself, because it's a lot of time and we do not have any artificial deadline or targets created for ourselves. That is why competitive exams become so difficult to handle, because you cannot study everything at the end and you have to set artificial deadlines or targets for yourself. And here a great dopamine boost is if you create a checklist for every day. You just make a checklist for some mini task that you want to achieve that day, and whenever at the end of the day you see that ticked off the box, that's itself a great dopamine boost for yourself. And keep doing this every day. You will see whenever you find that most of the checklists are missing, you will start feeling guilty every day and you would not want to repeat it the other day as well. The next tip is to reward yourself with distraction. Yes, to avoid distraction, you should reward yourself with distraction. So you can set boundaries that whenever I complete these many tasks, I will reward myself with, say, social media time for the next 30 minutes. And if you set those boundaries, you will be much less inclined to go to social media apart from that set and dedicated time that you have. Just one important thing that I mentioned before as well, make sure you do not keep switching from focus to distractions. Keep some idle time for yourself, and that will help you in your long-term focus. The next tip is to use the Pomodoro technique, which basically tells that you should focus 25 minutes on your work. After that, take 5 minutes of break, and you can repeat this for 4 iterations. So after 2 hours, you can take a longer break for 30 minutes. Honestly, I haven't used this technique much, but a lot of people have tried it and found it useful, so you can try it for yourself. I hope you will start implementing this from today itself. Let me know after a few months if this helped or not, and if you have learned something from this video, do subscribe, and see you in the next one.